Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Chris, this is Show Me Repair, and today we're going to get back on that 2017 Ford Expedition that had low power, had a P0299, had some noise coming from the right hand or passenger side turbo, and because of that we went ahead and got authorization from the customer. They want to go ahead and replace the turbo, remove the turbo, found that the shaft had broken in the turbo, which basically the compressor wheel and turbine move independently, so it's not going to work like it's supposed to. Removed the turbo, found that the oil feed screen was plugged, and that most likely was due to lack of maintenance, and that was what caused the turbo to fail. And thankfully we did that. Other than that, basically the job was going pretty good. Put it back together, had one of the bolts break on the turbo oil feed and drain. So I had to pull the turbo back off. You're going to see today how that went. It actually went better than I thought. So thanks for getting back. Let's get to it. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing out. A lot of times bolts, you can just tap them out sometimes if you can get it onto them, especially if it's a fresh break. There it goes. It acted like it wanted to go. Loose in there. Just getting it to go the rest of the way. Why doesn't it want to go? I think it moves some. Yep. It's definitely fighting me, but it's going to come out. It's weird. I can get it to move by hand, but I can't get it to move with the chisel. See if this. There it goes. Woo! We got lucky. But we're not out yet. Okay, well, that problem's over, but now we need to make sure we find another bolt. So. I feel like I said it a lot. After that bolt breaking, I was kind of in a hot rush to get this thing at least movable, because I had another couple cars coming in that I needed to do an oil change and check out some stuff, and I had them on the calendar, so I didn't pick up the camera. Everything went, after that broken bolt, put the turbo back in, torqued everything properly, everything went smooth, put all the plumbing back on. I did not show you the process of putting the stretchy belt on, the AC compressor. That's a pain in the butt. The best advice I could say is if you can go get some big, like this one I cut off there, big, thick zip ties, make sure they're strong too. You don't want some cheap ones that break easy. I put the belt on the compressor first, then looped it around the crank, put zip ties around the crank, and turned the engine over until the belt got on, and then I use a screwdriver, a small screwdriver, to work the belt on as I crank the engine over, and that's the best way that I've found. They make tools to do it, but that's normally on a different style. The tool I'm used to using that I have does not work on the AC compressor on this or the crank pulley. The AC compressor's got a bit of pulley or the clutch that sticks out, and then the stretchy belt on the 3.5 ecoboost goes to the inside, and the outside belt runs the alternator and water pump. I think that's it now that I think about it. So right now I'm gonna now that I'm filled with coolant, I've already put fresh oil in it, fresh filter. I'm going to raise it on the lift, check for any leaks, clean up anything that looks like a leak, and then start the engine and watch. We'll make sure everything's good, and then we'll take it for a drive. Sounds good and looks good here. Let's go underneath. Main thing I'm looking at is the oil drain and feed. Can you all see? There we go. I'm not seeing a leak there. That's a good sign. Everything looks good up front. Belts are all on. Look good. Ooh, I need to cut my hair. I'm getting, well, I mean, I'm balding, but it's getting furry in my face. Wife has been calling me Bigfoot, which I'm not near as hairy as. Anyway. Okay, this Expedition, put turbo on it. I'm still getting the slightest kind of humming noise, and getting a little bit of noise. You know that you got something spinning extremely fast. Got some dirt in my mouth. Passenger side turbo, brand new, reman. It's new. It sounds pretty good. Driver side, it's making a little noise, but I'm not really surprised. With as loud as that other one was, I mean, it was kind of obvious. Hey, this one's bad. I inspected the driver's side one. Nothing jumped out at me, but we were low on power. We need to fix the one with the issue. We found the screen plugged, which means the driver's side's probably the same way. But I go out and drive it. I was always told by Ford that one turbo could basically power this engine, make the boost that it needs. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But what my issue I'm having now is it's not setting the check engine light. It still feels a little low on power. Engine sounds good. No misfires. But it keeps setting a underboost code I can't get away from the lights. Under boost code and a P0299, but it's not set the instruction line, it's in memory. And watch, what is it, the turbo, look real quick. Okay, if anybody wants a data log boost on a ecoboost, it's the throttle inlet pressure sensor. Now, that sensor reads basically atmospheric pressure. Key off, it should read, depending on what elevation you're at, mine's reading 1407 PSI. Engine's off. So anything over that is boost. Anything under is obviously vacuum. So you go out and drive this, and that's maybe peaking at 15, 16, but we're commanding, my desired is 20, 21, in that range. So we need to be seeing roughly 5-6 pounds of boost. Obviously it'll probably do more once we get going and we fix whatever issue, but an issue I ran into that I just found, and I seem to run into this a lot on these, when you really have a boost problem that you can't figure out. Let me show you. Okay, you can see that smoke coming out of there? Up top, right here, is the actual bypass valve. This is like a muffler for it, I'd say, something. Let me move my light so it doesn't blind us. Okay, now watch the smoke. I'm going to wiggle this. So if I can wiggle that and get it to leak, then it's going to probably do that under boost. So I need to pull this off, inspect. Do I have something cracked? It feels loose. Somebody else has had this off, I know. I'm pretty sure somebody installed a new one. But I need to inspect that and figure out what's wrong. Well, this might be easier than I thought. So this is what the turbocharger bypass valve on the 3.5 EcoBoost looks like. On, I think they have it 15 and newer, similar, but this is definitely 13. I can't remember if 11 and 12 had one of these, but 13 to, well, 13, 14 for sure. The Expedition, this is a 17, so it's good on there too. It's the same, but what I found was a screw was loose. If we look up in here, I moved this some. I was able to take the screw loose right here and swing it. To take it all the way off, I need to get the intercooler out. So I can't get it, it's a quarter turn or a half turn or whatever, and I can't get full swing. But when I spun it, I saw I had a screw loose on the mounting spot here. It's weird, it looks like you can mount these either direction. So you have two different, you can see that little divot in the center there, that valley or whatever you want to call it. You can mount, there's two mounting holes on either side. So I guess you can pivot it either way. I'm going to reinstall this, make sure it's sealed up good, make sure we don't have any dirt, everything feels good in there. And I'm going to make sure the screws are tight, and then we'll re-smoke test it. I think I got that fixed, and then I can't wiggle the valve anymore and get any movement, so I'm going to plug this back up, and I got a plug on there actually. You can buy those online, these pieces of aluminum that plug in, these plugs for these hoses, so you can hear your basically blow off valve. So I'm going to go drive it and see what we get. Okay, definitely didn't fix anything. If you watch there, the TCBP DSD, we're up to 17. I'm just trying to maintain speed. or what is that? No, it's up to 19 now, and the TCBP is only about 14 and a half. So we're still not making really any boost. What is the problem? Okay, I don't even remember where I left off, but we're still not getting any boost. What is this? Throttle inlet pressure sensor. TCBP, throttle. I guess this would be turbocharger boost pressure. What they're saying. So I need to test to make sure this sensor is actually reading accurately, or close to accurate. So right now we're sitting at 14.7. I've pulled the sensor off the charge pipe, which usually mounts right here. The throttle body's right there. So I took it off, put a hose on the end of it. The other end I have a regulator, and it's not extremely, but I can get down to 5-pound increments. And so this engine will normally see in the 15 to 20 range. So I don't want to go and max this thing out, but I want to see if it actually does anything. I already did it off camera, but I'm going to do it for you all. I'm going to start adding pressure. We're still sitting at 14.7. There we are. You can see the gradual line there. We're at 27. I'm going to bring it back down. Okay, so I believe this sensor is working properly. So next test I'm going to do, which I don't even know what to do. I think I'll disconnect my lines to my wastegates and see if I can get anything from there. Maybe something's happening, and once it builds boost, it instantly cracks the wastegates open, which isn't letting it build boost. So I'll do that and go take it for a drive, and we'll see what happens. Well, just got done driving to see if that changed anything. Having the wastegates disconnected, or the pressure line from the wastegate actuator disconnected at the wastegates, and no change. I wasn't really expecting it to change anything. At this point, it's hard for me to believe that the new turbo isn't doing anything, and which would be the passenger side, and the driver's side is junk. You know, it could, but we shouldn't be making some boost. So to me, there's a massive leak somewhere, because I've checked my bypass valve is working. I verified that. I fixed the leak at it. Our pressure sensor is working at the throttle body, so we shouldn't have a pressure reading issue. That's the only thing I can think of, is it has to be a giant leak. So okay, I'm gonna contact the customer, update him, and then next time you see me, we will be not smoke testing the charge air cooler system again, or the turbo system, but we're going to pressure test it probably to 15 to 20 psi. That way, if there's any major leaks, maybe there's a leak that it starts making pressure, we don't see it, the system starts making pressure and it loses it before we even see it, before it gets to the engine. So I'll update you. Oh, gotta get a call. Update later. I haven't updated very much because this thing was definitely had me stumped. I was stumped on what was causing the low boost concern, and I think I figured it out, but further testing, it may have been a fluke, that I just so happens fixed something that I don't know what I fixed, and now it is making boost off of, or it was, the 17 Expedition. Well, you all know that, you're watching the video. I would, after I put the first turbo on, you saw I took it out and drove it and wasn't getting any boost, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I pressurized the charge system, intake, intercooler, everything, no leaks. I found a leak you saw at the blow-off valve, or what is it called? Ford call it bypass valve. The bypass valve, and I found that, and I smoked the system. I pressurized the system. I tested all kinds of stuff. I tested the turbocharger boost pressure sensor right in front of the throttle body. I was going over everything. Nothing made sense. It still wouldn't make any boost. The turbocharger boost pressure would maintain around 14.5 when driving, and you'd see the map come up. So the map sensor in the throttle body will normally see a vacuum when there's no boost, and at least normally once you start to see anything higher than 14.5 on your turbocharger boost pressure sensor, and you start seeing anything over a positive number, not a vacuum, on your map sensor, then you're usually getting boost. And I actually finally, the last time I took it out, I'm going to throw up some video right now, probably while I talk, of a data log on my IDS that I actually finally started getting boost on the passenger side turbo. Once I saw that, okay, we're making boost, the system's working properly, but we're still low on boost. I still wasn't happy with it, and I was getting a lot of smoke from the exhaust. I mean, I let this thing idle for quite a while. I went and took it on over, I know I easily drove over 15-20 miles, and so the exhaust should have got hot enough and burnt out all that oil, or it should have started dissipating, but it hadn't. And so I was pretty much convinced that the driver's side turbo was starting to fail, just like the passenger side already did, and probably would see a screen plugged, and that's what I found. So I went ahead and talked to the customer. He okayed putting a turbo on it. I ordered all the parts for it, and I've already installed it. I'm getting ready to do a first start, but this is the screen from the driver's side. This is the screen from the passenger side. Yeah, they're definitely plugged. So if you all are replacing your turbos, definitely replace those screens. That is definitely something important you want to do. Even if you maintain your engine and it's you haven't had any other issues, the screen's there for a purpose. It may have caught some junk, and that one caught some sludge and starved those turbos, so that would be a good thing to do. So I'm going to get started on this. It's full of coolant, full of oil. I drained the oil just so I didn't get any coolant in it. Not much coolant came out, but it doesn't hurt, and it's fresh oil, so. Okay. Sounds good. That's weird. I had set that to 100%. Okay. I'll make sure I go back and reset it. That's what I wanted on. Okay, no codes, or no lights anyway. Making a little smoke off of it, no big deal. Engine sounds good. Leaks on the ground. I'll go drive it and update you guys, let you know how it went. Okay, the drive for that expedition went really well. I was wrong about the negative number turned to positive on the map. As I was driving, I realized that. But what you'll see is a low number on the map, and as boost comes in, it'll get back up to around 14 or so, and that's an easy way to know that you are getting boost into the engine. The reason the turbocharger boost pressure sensor sees a higher number than the map sensor, which is the manifold absolute pressure, which is the map sensors on top of the intake manifold, the reason you're going to see higher pressure on the turbocharger boost pressure sensor is because you have the throttle plate in the way. And the crazy thing is if you all ever go monitor any of your cars that have drive-by-wire, so it's basically you have a accelerator pedal with a position sensor, that input goes into the computer and the computer demands so much out of the engine. Those throttle bodies don't open all the way sometimes, and so you're going to see a pressure difference from the turbo side to the manifold side, and it's only small cases where it actually opens it. I don't believe it ever opens it 100%. If I remember correctly, it's around 85, somewhere in there. It's pretty close. And I mean, it's not a racing application, and even with that, you can still make tons of power. So anyway, that is it for that video. Whew, that one wore me out. I was a little stumped for a while, didn't really know where to go. I hate condemning parts, especially expensive parts like turbos, unless I have good information. And I just needed to dig enough on that one after testing everything, finally driving and getting some power back, but then still having smoke. That was a pretty good indication. And from what we saw on that passenger turbo, it didn't hurt to replace that driver's side too. That way they're both done, shouldn't have any issues. I believe that the failure on those turbos was due to not exactly lack of maintenance, but going too long. They were following the oil minder on the dash. So you reset to 100% and it counts down, and when it would get to 0, they were, or lower, they were not lower, but in the 10% range or something. They may have been taking it in. Well, that may have been pushing them out to 10,000 miles on an oil change, which isn't good. Not on these engines. Not unless you monitor it and you send your oil in for testing and you actually know that the oil is in good shape. What's most likely happening, what I've seen, is when you start pushing your oil changes out that long, it breaks down the oil and the oil can't do its job. It's not going to clean, and you build up sludge and junk that then causes the screens to get plugged and starves oil for turbos. Long term, if they continue that after this, could they see an engine failure? Yeah, I think so. I believe they could. Hopefully, I'll educate them on it when they pick up, and hopefully from here they do about 5,000 miles. I personally believe 5,000 is a reasonable amount on the ecoboost, and I think that should save them from having to replace an engine down the road. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot, guys.